everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to do another video review for you. The game I'm going to be telling you about today is a game called Albion's Legacy. And if you're familiar with the term Albion, you'll know that that is in reference to King Arthur in Arthurian legend. And I don't know about you, but I read a lot of books about the Arthurian legend when I was younger. Of course, I'm a big fan of the movie Excalibur. I also I remember because like when we first got cable, it was like one of the first movies that was on, and like I remember like always sneaking down to make sure I could see like the very beginning when you got to see that naked girl in it. But anyway, so that's a little childish of me. But I'm just remembering Excalibur and how cool that movie is. But regardless, I totally dig the idea of the Arthurian legend. I took some medieval literature classes in college, and when we talked about this genre, this era of writing, I was really engrossed in it, and I enjoyed it a great deal. This game is a cooperative game. It is pitting King Arthur and Lady Guinevere and his loyal knights against the evils that are in his King Arthur's domain. There is a main story quest that the players have to accomplish in a very short period of time. Along the way, they also have to defeat enemies and face challenges to collect quest tokens that they need to have before the end of the game as well. So winning the game is in two parts. Collecting these quest tokens that you need like 3 per player, and you can play the game solo if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. The game's really tough, but so like with 3 players you'd need 9 quest tokens. You can do math, I'm guessing. And then also there's like a story quest that like you have to do. There's 2 that I got with this prototype. One is like this that I'm going to do Dux Bellorum, which is you go and you investigate these battlegrounds that King Arthur had battles at, and then you have to defeat a challenge that's there. And then there's this one where you have to after Uther Pendragon died, you have to go to these 4 locations, and you have to succeed in these little quests at these 4 locations, and then you collect a token that you have to bring back to the round table and stuff like that. So I mean, and then of course, just like for any good cooperative game, where there's only like one way to win the game, there's like multiple ways you can lose. If this is a game that if you die, you don't lose the game. Ultimately, you get to draw another character, but you can only die as many times as you have players combined. So you could have one, like, so if you had 4 people, you could have one, like, really guy who is having a bad day and having bad luck, and he could die 4 times, and that would cause the game to be lost. And everybody has to die once. There's a card deck called Virtues that like are the virtues of being a knight. Certain things will cause you to draw those cards, and they give you powers. But when you use the power, you discard them. And so if you ever run out of those cards, you've run out of the virtue that the knights have, and so you'd lose the game. And also some jerks, some of the enemies that you'll have, and some encounters and whatnot will take those cards away from you as well. And finally, like any good cooperative game, there is just a time limit. You have 10 turns that you have to finish the game. It's like the despair track. And with this prototype I got, I didn't get a despair track, but I mean, just think of kind of your 10. And then of course, like any other good cooperative game, there's things can happen that'll speed that track up. But so I'm just kind of I know usually at this point I'm showing you the game board and showing the stuff that I have, but I just wanted to give you that kind of grounding, that base, if you will, before I show you how the game is played, because the game is fairly straightforward as far as the game is concerned, as far as the mechanics. So if you've played a co-op, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I can definitely feel like the game is kind of rooted in the mechanics that like Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror kind of put on the map. And I mean, there's probably other games that maybe were before Arkham Horror, obviously, that put that on the map. But each person has stats, and then like you use those stats to roll dice against the things that you run into, whether it's a challenge or whether it's a creature you have to defeat and things like that. And so if you've played cooperative games that are on not so much the like purely strategic, little or no luck realm of things, a la maybe a Pandemic, if you will, and you've played cooperative games that are more of a dice-driven game and an encounter-driven game, you've probably played a game like this before. So, but there's wrinkles and there's changes. I don't want you to come away from this introduction saying, "Oh, so it's Arkham Horror in Arthurian Legend." No, don't take it like that. But I'm just saying that, like, I think the mechanics of the game are fairly straightforward. And like I said, if you've played a game of this genre, I think you'll be able to grasp it pretty quickly. But so I'm going to do a quick little overview of the rules, and we'll come back here and I'll tell you exactly what I think, as always, and hopefully, well, let's just show you how to play the game, show you the prototype that I have, and then we'll go from there. All right. Alright, here we go. This is the game Albion's Legacy, and let's just specify, as I always do for any video I do that is Kickstarter related, the game that I have in front of you watching right now, this is a prototype, and there's no guarantee what exactly the game is going to look like. I do know, obviously, I'm not going to have a piece of paper for a game board, but as far as prototypes go, this was a very playable game, and I had no issues with it whatsoever. But I do know that if you go to the Kickstarter page, you can see what they're going for and how the game's going to look, and the upgrades and things like that to what you're going to see in front of you. So, anyway, as I said, at the beginning of the game, you'll pick a story quest, whichever one. You can draw it randomly or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I only have the two that I got with this prototype. I do know that they're going to have several more planned for the final version of the game. They also get these little player boards of the different people: King Arthur, Dame Lothely, Dame Ragnell, Sir Gawain, I can't even, it's just like, I can never read these things. McGredden, Emerus, I'm sorry, Lady of the Lake, Sir Lancelot, Mordred Pendragon, Queen Guinevere, and I do know that they're going to have several more of these as well. I think stretch goals or something, I don't know. Just so you can just see what these have. There's the 4 locations on here that show your weapon, your armor, your special, and your special. So you just have these 4 locations that you'll get like equipment that they'll put on those locations. So let's just like say, like, here, like you find this legendary shield, so obviously it's armor, and so it goes over that location. Pretty straightforward, not very tough. You'll notice that there's these spots up here. These are destiny tokens. In the game that I have, we used these little colored beads. You get, like, he has 3 destiny tokens. Destiny tokens allow you to re-roll dice if if you fail at either a combat or a roll to succeed at an encounter. You can spend a destiny token to re-roll 1 die, to shoot for a better roll. Basically, in this game, 5s and 6s are the are successes. You've probably played games like that before. When you use a destiny token, though, and you roll a die, a 4 or 5 or 6 is a success. And plus, each person gets a special ability. You can see there's the same symbol, and so you use a destiny token to use a special ability. And King Arthur's special ability is you can take a wound token for another player anywhere in the game to gain 1 destiny token. This is a special destiny. It does not count towards your maximum destiny limit. And so a maximum of 1 special destiny. So basically King Arthur, takes 1 for the team, if you will. And so, of course, then there's the stats down here: prowess, loyalty, courage, altruism, and their movement level. And so then, and the characters are obviously different. So here's Lothely Dame, 4-5-5-4-4, and so on and so forth. And some of them, are different, like like, you know, here's Sir Gawain. His special ability is that he can take 1 additional wound. In this game, nobody's really all that healthy. After you take a wound, you can only take 1 more, and if you take 1 more, then yeah, you are considered defeated. You're not like King Arthur doesn't exactly die, but he's just, you know, been taken out or whatever. He's too hurt to continue, and so then you would draw a brand new character from the ones that aren't taken, and then you would go ahead and continue playing at that time. When you begin the game, you get 2 pieces of standard equipment from this deck of cards here. Notice there's all those little decks over there. I'll explain those here in a second. Basically, these are they have no special abilities. You know, the staff does the same thing as a sword, does the same thing as a warhammer. A leather vest, the same thing as shoulder plate or squire's chain or scale mail. These are just basic starting equipment. Their only real value is that you don't really care if they get broken, because if they get broken, basically you lose a combat, you flip them over saying they're broken, and then you prevent yourself from taking a wound, and so that's your starting equipment. Eventually, like as the game progresses, like if you defeat certain enemies and things like that, you'll be able to draw, you know, these special items that I had, you know, over here, you know, like a blessed sword, you know, may use, you know, and so these things just give you different abilities that you can, you know, have and use as well. And also, you know, like those are the weapons and armor. Yeah, here we go. Like, so then here's like those special things, and same thing, like a shard of the Grail or your repair kits, healing flasks. Everybody needs healing, you know, and then just some other stuff. And, you know, it's just, this is all part of that storytelling. You know, any game like this has that wonderful, you know, the building up the character phase where you, like, get better equipment and you know, and so you're like, oh, cool, I got a better sword, and oh, I got this magic potion and stuff like that. There is this deck that is, the Virtue deck. This is that deck I was telling you about in the intro, that if you ever run out of these, you lose the game. And so there's not a ton of these, and so like when you gain them though, these are like little abilities that you have. So Virtue is Fidelity, +1 to any check using Loyalty as its challenge. Once per key turn, this player may instantly win a challenge versus any traitor in a given combat. Now, key turn is basically this token. You figure out whoever the first player is, and then so if, like, you're playing with 4 people, this person goes first, it goes all the way around, gets back to this person, and then they hand the key to over the person on their left, going clockwise. And when you do that, then like that also signifies you know, doing all the different things like increasing the number on the despair track, working your way towards 10. It you know, monsters move, and I shouldn't say monsters, but your enemies move, and special enemies will have their special actions go off and things like that. And so that's what a key turn is, and so you'd have that extra ability with that. This deck here, that kind of looks like more of these virtues, is actually these special things that, like, special like relics or artifacts or whatever that people are looking for. Like, obviously King Arthur's looking for Excalibur, and if we look at King Arthur, you see there's this personal quest, and it's like the Sword in the Stone, find the tile, care guy, succeeded a prowess challenge of 4, meaning you get 4 successes while testing prowess. And then if you do that, you gain the artifact of Excalibur. That's like the personal quest. And so, you know, that's the goal of everybody's like personal quest, is to get that. After you've accomplished a fair amount of the game, like you've managed to like get quest tokens and move along towards succeeding at the game, this deck of cards will become available. These are mounts. Basically what this does is you start being able to move faster. It's important that you get this because as the game progresses, you'll be building the map with these tiles, and I'll explain that in here in just a second. You'll be building the map both above and below this main board here, and you'll need that extra movement to be able to get to all the different places that you need to go to succeed at. This deck is kind of like like little improvements as well. These are like better items than the ones that you kind of start with, like like there's special items and things like that. Another deck that you get to draw from when you start defeating enemies and succeeding at the quests that you're given and the goals that you're given as the game progresses. This is a road deck. You'll see road tiles will come up. I can show you one here in just a second. But this is just kind of like whenever you go through a spot that's a road, you will draw one of these. And most of these are bad, never anything good. But like here, something normal. Oh, travel conditions are clear. It's the skies. Nothing happens. But like if you go a little further, you'll have like the Knight of Long Knives. Draw and discard the top card of the artifact item and armory decks. Well, that's not good. You just discarded all that stuff. Or Betrayal is our downfall. Draw and discard the top card of the virtue deck. So traveling through the roads kind of stinks because it actually like harms you, but you usually have to end up going through them. And finally, the last deck with this big skull on it is these are the enemies. And so when you find tiles that actually have a skull on it, there's also one here in the dungeons of the of the King Arthur's Camelot here. You will spawn a bad guy. And so like you'll turn this over and it's like the Morgans and spirits from the waterways of Albion, sometimes vicious and sometimes cruel. Place 2 Morgan tokens to play on the docks and St. Ives ports tile. Now, you see like the docks are here, but if you don't have like St. Ives ports, like whatever tile told you to draw, that you will go through these stack of tiles and find the correct tile for that token, and then you will place it on the board and then reshuffle those and get ready to go. And so then it tells you like they have movement of 1, and then it gives them, they have a loyalty of 3, and they have courage of 3. Now what that means, that isn't their stats. What that is that if you want to fight one, you have to either fight that with loyalty or courage, and you have to get at least 3 successes. And basically, like, and I should mention that a 6 actually is considered 2 successes, so it's like double damage, if you will. And so then special, cannot use any bonuses when rolling against the Morgans, and it's a magical creature, and so it just kind of describes that. And so now the whole point is that, and so like I'm not going to dig through and find the correct tokens, but like you would just drop a token on that spot, and then your players would have to find that and go and kill it in combat. And so if like you had a person stop on that, you'd say, okay, well now you need to roll 6-sided dice, and you need to get at least 3 successes to defeat them. Now it should be mentioned when the game comes out, they're not going to have like standard 6-sided dice. They're actually going to have special dice that are etched with the specific insignia for each one of the like stats, if you will. But in this case, since we don't have that, like I said, 5s and 6s are successes, and like a 6 is a double damage. And so either courage or loyalty would be what you defeat them. So we'll look at like King Arthur, and he's got 4 loyalty and 4 courage, so he just gets 4 dice. If he had 5 and 1, obviously he'd pick the one of them to be 5, so you roll your dice there, and you're looking for successes, and that would be a horrible roll, obviously. And so in combat, it should be mentioned, is to the death. You don't stop fighting until one of you's dead, and you just need to succeed once, getting those 3 successes to defeat it. So in this case, obviously Arthur would like say, okay, I'm going to break my armor, if you will, so I can reroll all my dice, and we'll see if I get a lucky. Oh, there we go. So I got 3 successes, 3 5s, and a 4. So 3 successes, I would defeat it. You just need to equal the amount, and so then you take the token and you keep it. And the reason why you keep it is because eventually you take your tokens and you go back to the dungeons and you drop them off. And if ever you get 8 tokens dropped off there, then you get a quest token. And remember, you need the quest tokens to be able to win. Sometimes, like, the bigger guys, like in yellow, like, you can turn them in for... bigger items, like for turning them in, and then so you can trade them in to better equip yourself. So you'd keep that because you were good enough that you were able to defeat that creature. So combat's pretty straightforward, but it's also really freaking deadly. So just so you know, like also here on this board, just so you can see other stuff that goes on. The way out, the drawbridge is out here, and you notice that there's like this forest and these mountains. I'll explain that in just a moment, because it's important to note that like you can't just place any tile willy-nilly wherever you like. You have to kind of separate out. So like forest and mountain tiles can be placed up here. You can place forest and water tiles down here, and you can place mountain and water tiles down here, because like you can leave it through the sally port or through the docks. Now obviously the stables, that's where you get your horses eventually. If you go to these places, you can barely see it, but then these stars, I'll see if I can zoom in. See the little P there? If somebody stops and is in that room, everyone else gets to add 1 die to their roll in prowess. So like if you had a prowess thing and somebody was in there, you get 6 dice for that particular thing. And you can see, there's one in the kitchen there with an L, and the monastery with an A, and the gatehouse with a C. The treasury, obviously, pretty straightforward. That's where you can get stuff. Bergfried, pretty straightforward. Once again, this is where you can get virtue. And so, like, obviously, all these you correspond with those cards over there and what you can draw. These things, the hammer, these are all the forge and the barracks. You can fix the like items that you've broken while you've been out and about and running through the world. And so, and like I said, the dungeons, you can see there's a skull. If you stop and you activate that spot, you can draw a card from the evil person's deck. And they may be saying, well, why would I want to do that? Well, a lot of times, like a couple times when we've been playing and we ultimately lost, we had to draw, get monsters drawn. We didn't want to go out and investigate more stuff, because then like bad stuff would happen going through roads and whatever. And so we were coming back to the castle and trying to get more monsters to show up so we could go out and kill them, so we could kill them off and drop them back off at the dungeon technically, so we could turn them in for the quest stones, so we'd have a shot at winning. Other than that, the game is just like that. The only thing I haven't shown you is the placing of the tiles. The tiles, like as you can see, like they have either there's 3 possibilities, and I should find one with the mountain on it. But so you have water, forest, and let me just see. Like, I know, I swear to you, there's ones that have, see, like, the ones that are blacked out, obviously, they just don't have that ability. You can't place them in that location. And so when you draw these as a scout action, you'll have to place them. And I'll be darned if I can't, well, there we go. So, there's a mountain. Actually, I was just looking at them wrong. I hope they change the art here, because it does kind of confuse me a couple times. So, okay, you draw this, and you say, all right, so this is the top tile, you draw it, and, for a while we were wondering, because, like, I think, this is my opinion, and I don't know if this is right or not, but, like, you have this deck, and I was wondering if, like, you shouldn't, like, shuffle them up, and, like, and draw one, because of the fact that, like, otherwise, this is like, well, obviously can be placed anywhere. Like, because then you would know, because, like, if your character is moving through here, and this is not what it's going to look like, this is just one of my old D&D minis. Like, so you go there, and you're moving, so you start at, like, the round table, and you go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to leave. So if you can see the top tile, you know what you can scout, and so you can place one. And so, like, if there was one that you just couldn't place over there, or you didn't want to place over there because of whatever reason, maybe you'd want to, like, have like draw one at random or what have you. And like plus like you kind of tend to, I would just think maybe after you played it a few times you maybe kind of learn like what some of the tiles. I mean, there's probably enough that you wouldn't have to worry about that. But regardless, you draw one. I'm kind of and it's not that big of a deal. It's just something we decided because there was nothing specific in the prototype rules that we read that you had to draw the top tile. So we would just draw one from the middle, and so you get this. And so it's like forest and sea, and so you take it and then you flip it over, and on the other side it says it's Tifrin Hill. And so you can see there's the 3 locations like that, and so you get to place it. The person who draws it places it, and so like okay, so Tifrin Hill is right there. And then you then have the option. You haven't entered the location yet. You have the option to, you can turn around and head back the other way if you want. Like that isn't where you want to go. Regardless, since it has a skull on it, at that point you draw the thing, and I didn't reshuffle, so we had the Morgans there, and so you would go through that process, and then the Morgans would make you draw, search through this pile until you found the one that they needed, and then place that down on the map as well. And then you have the option of going into that location if you so desire. So the other thing is that if you don't go into the spot that you just scouted, you can't scout again. So you kind of have to, experience the spot that you're going to if you want to keep going. And so it's one of those things where, I know there is like a card or an ability that allows you to keep scouting even if you don't enter the spot. But for the most part, leaving the castle and wandering around in the wild is actually kind of dangerous, and it can actually be well, obviously it can kill you. So, but anyway, here's like a road tile, if you will, and so like if you place that, and like you placed it here, anytime like you're moving, you go through that road tile, you're forced to draw a road spot, and so that's one of those things where you just have to kind of. When you place the roads, you kind of have to make sure they're in a good spot, if you will, or a spot that isn't going to be traveled a lot, because like I said, it's pretty rare that anything, it's one of those things where it's not something good happens, it's just that nothing bad happened. And so that's what those do for you. But regardless, that's pretty much the game of Albion's Legacy. If you've played a co-op game, especially a co-op game with like that's encounter driven, dice driven, the gameplay itself should be fairly recognizable for you. But let me tell you exactly what I think of the game and with my conclusion, and I'll do that right now. Alright, awesome. I was just thinking of a couple of things, like Arthurian legend-wise, and I don't know if they had it, but I still have my book. I'm looking at my RPG books. They're right down in that bookshelf right there. The old Deities and Demigods book for, I think it was 1st edition and 2nd edition, way back in the day, actually had the stats for the Arthurian people, so you could look in there and you could say, oh look, here's King Arthur, he's got 1800 strength and stuff like that. I don't know why I just thought of that, but I remember I thought that was cool when I had those books, and it was another one of those things where I was just like, cool, what hasn't D&D given me in my life? But regardless, okay, so there you go. You seen the game board, you seen how you play the game. As I said, the game is pretty straightforward. One of the things that I found as I played the game, I played the game solo by myself, just messing around with it, and then spraying it on my gaming group, and then for us to play it out. And one of the things that kind of grabbed at me right away was the fact that it was really trying its darndest and doing a very good job, mind you, of letting the theme kind of soak fully in to every aspect of the game. I had my misgivings at first when I saw this thing with the castle, and then it just seemed kind of weird that you had this rather big, large starting area that was the castle, and then, but then you were forced to kind of go out and then create the world, and there was a little bit of a break. I'll fully admit that it's like, okay, so you're in this castle and you're scouting the area around it. I mean, did you like literally like blindfold yourselves and then you told somebody to make a castle somewhere and you walked out there and then, okay, now we're in the, and where is everything? But I don't have any backstory for the game at all. Maybe there's some sort of, you know, Morgan Le Fay evil spell going on or something that has altered the landscape or whatever, and so then that is. But we made a few jokes about it. Regardless, they've really gone out of their way to just have the immersion level and have the theme of the game grip me. And like I said, you know, being a big Arthurian legend guy, I you know, and I think there's a lot of us out there that have that same mentality. You know, just the whole process, the whole story of it, you know, just kind of like you know, this kind of like ultimately doomed king, you know, like, you know, it's one of those things that is very you know, for when the story was written. I mean, it was like it's held up that long, and then people still find it you know, interesting and gripping and relatable. You know, is a tantamount to it's just amazingness, if you will. So regardless, that all said, I mean, the game itself is fun. It's just flat out fun. You know, I enjoy games like this. I enjoy the storytelling aspect of it. I like it even more because, like, just like I play a game like Arkham Horror, I've read a ton of H.P. Lovecraft. I've read a ton of other authors' work within that realm, and so when we play games like Arkham or Eldritch Horror, you know, we can relate things that we've read, you know, Mountains of Madness, things like that. We can relate those stories and like draw from that to do the story-driven aspect of the game we're playing. And the same thing holds true, and now it's a totally different genre, totally different theme that I love, and then I'm able to do that again. And I get to personify a character like Lancelot, or Gawain, or King Arthur, or what have you. And then I'm able to, like, relate certain things, like, you know, just even last time we played it, like, I related excellent comic from many years ago, Camelot 3000, which was this amazing retelling of the Arthurian legend, but in the future. And you know, if you haven't ever read that, I strongly suggest go pick up the graphic novel. You can probably get it off Amazon for $15 or something. But it's just great, good stuff, and we're relating stories about that. And so this is a social atmosphere game. Now, all that being aside, mechanics are good, the theme is good, I like the art. From what I see here, I know they're expanding on it, I know they're making it better. I mean, the game is funded, it's going to be made, and I think from what I've seen, it looks like it's going to be awesome. Now, all that being said, for me to like a cooperative game, there are 3 specific rules that it has to do for me, and I will go through them one by one. First of all, it has to somehow make me really feel like it's a cooperative game. In other words, it isn't just me and my buddies running off and doing our own little thing, and hopefully we somehow cause the game to win. No, I need to feel like the other players and I are actively working together to solve the issue. And this game has that, because of the fact that there are certain things that certain powers and certain abilities that people have that interact with the other players, and so you are constantly saying, "Oh, I'll help you over there. I got this ability. I'll heal you. I'll do this." You know, and so I feel like I'm actually playing a cooperative game. There's too many cooperative games out there that just don't stress that enough, and it's just like, and then I'm left thinking, well, why don't I just play this game by myself, because there's no point in having other people at the table. So number 2, it can't have the loudest person at the table telling everybody what to do thing in it. Pandemic, I'm looking right at you. So you know, and I realize that this is a lot of a gaming group mentality. You can't have one person kind of lording over the table and telling everybody, and so like you have to have a gaming group that can kind of keep things in check, and just everybody just, you know, being open to other people's ideas. The biggest thing with solving that is preventing the only one real answer to the problem is viable. And so I always I don't like games where it's just like, well, obviously we just have to go here because if we don't do that, we're going to lose. In this game, I don't have that. I have what at least appears to me a multiple paths to victory type of situation, especially with the personal quests that people have. I mean, it's like yes, you have this ultimate goal that you're trying to do to win, and you need to fulfill that. But in this game, like the personal quest and values, you know that if you can get that personal quest done for your character, you're going to be that much more powerful. And so yes, you're doing this little bit of a sidetrack off, but if you can get that and claim it, you're going to be so far ahead in being able to succeed if you do that. And there's things like that and other parts of the game that I contribute that same aspect where it's like, yes, it does seem like, you know, going over and killing that witch right now does seem like the most direct aspect of how I should be doing to win the game. But if you think about that for a moment, if I actually went and did this particular story quest and I got that done first and let her sit there for a while, that makes more sense as well. And so you have those moments where, you know, you have equal but seemingly, I should say, seemingly different objectives, but in the long run, an equal gain, if you will. And I like that aspect of the game. Finally, and this is the biggest thing about any cooperative game, the first time I play it, it has to kick my ass. And this game kicked my ass. And it totally, and I apologize for the language, I don't usually use vulgar terminology like that, but this is a game that we didn't win until the fourth time that we played it. And I've always said, if I'm sitting at a table and I'm playing a game against three of my friends, like me and my friends are playing this game and we're playing competitively, and we're all equally good at the game. My cat decided to show up. If we're all equally good at the game, then I should only win 1 out of every 4 times playing that game. And the same should hold true with a cooperative game, especially if I've never played it before. I should only win that game 1 out of every 4 times that I play. And this game does that. So, for those 3 reasons, it meets my cooperative game of approval. And I normally don't have like a rundown for that, but I am very, very particular with my cooperative games. They need to tell, I mean, they have to solve those things, and they need to tell me a story. They need to do something where, so when I get done playing it, I come back to it and I say, you know, wow, remember that last time we played, and then you needed to roll, you know, like you needed a 6 on that last roll, and if you didn't get it, we were going to lose. Stuff like that. And like it has a wonderful gripping story. It has a wonderful gripping moments and memorable moments that you'll reference, and you know, many sessions of the game down the road. And so that's an Albion's Legacy does that for me again and again and again. And I can't wait to see the final version of it when it gets published. I think the game is going to be amazing. And if you are somebody who digs Arthurian Legend, if you're somebody who digs co-op games, I think it's pretty much and even if you dig solo games and you're an Arthurian guy or girl, I think it's a must buy. So go to the website, go to Kickstarter, back it if you like, and yeah, once they get it published, you'll get a brand spanking new cool game that you'll be able to play at your leisure. So all right, so this is my cat Lily, who apparently woke up because I'm doing this video pretty late at night, and this is me, Undead Viking, in my gaming dojo here in Moorhead, Minnesota, telling you to have yourself an awesome day. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. All right, good night.